I guess it ain't too bad. This is the Locked and Lucky blueprint for the SVA 545. You unlock this for completing the new Conquest event in Modern Warfare 3, and I mean, you know, it's okay. I mean, I would even go as far as to say it's pretty good. It's solid looking. You know, it's above middle of the road, but it's not exactly, you know, knocking my socks off or nothing. It's got a nice black and gold aesthetic. It's not animated, and you know, I've said this many times, not every blueprint or camo needs to be animated to look good. Like, for example, just look at the Dendritic camo, I believe it was, Dendritic Devastation, that's what it was called. That camo actually looked really cool and stuck out really well, even though it wasn't animated. And this, I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's cool design, it's cool pattern, it's something that I'll rock from time to time. I think it just more or less comes down to the way that the weapon is built with the attachments and such. You know, you got the scope, which the scope is alright. In terms of the ADS speed, it's alright. In terms of the recoil, yeah, you could definitely switch up the attachments a bit just to make it a bit more stable, because this is me not controlling the recoil. Now, if I do control it, it's definitely not as bad. Like, as you can see, it's not too hard to get it at least a little more stable, but even then, I mean, you do have to put a good bit of work in to get it to that stable point. So, if anything, I'd probably only stick to using this in CQC. However, this is an AR, and usually ARs are more for the short to, like, medium range. Overall, the event is really easy to complete, which we're going to get to in a minute. So, you know, it's worth grinding out for, just so you can throw another blueprint in the stash just to kind of mess around with. But if we go ahead and maybe try to switch around the attachments to something that I would actually want to run, let's see, the scope, I probably wouldn't even rock that scope at all. The stock that they have on it, I mean, for gun kick control and all that, if anything, I'd probably actually want to use the main V6 stock, because that boosts up your recoil control way more. In fact, the current stock doesn't even help with recoil control, it just helps with some of the gun kick, which is a bit different from overall recoil. In terms of the grip, this one is actually pretty good. It helps with both ADS speed and recoil control, as well as gun kick control, so I would be okay with that. However, it's the grips, you're not even going to see that anyway. The X10 TX12 hand stop, I mean, this, again, this is probably one of those things where I'd rather switch it out for the X10 Phantom 5 hand stops. Then you get vertical recoil control and gun kick control mitigation, as well as a huge boost to ADS speed and sprint to fire speed. And then the barrel does help out quite a bit with ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and all that, but it hurts your bullet velocity and range by quite a bit. So if I was to build this out the way that I probably want to use it, first things first, I go ahead and toss the SL Razorhawk laser light on it for a huge boost to sprint to fire and ADS speed. I would also take off that grip and probably just go ahead and slap on the X10 Phantom hand stop just to really help with the vertical recoil. It does hurt your horizontal recoil, but it's by such a small amount compared to the huge pros that you get from using that attachment, so it's really not a huge deal. Next, I'd probably take off the barrel, if I'm being honest, and then when, you know, the SVA in itself, the recoil isn't too bad with the weapon, but you do need to do a good bit in certain situations depending on how you have the weapon built out to actually mitigate it. So I'd probably go ahead and slap on the L4R flash hider, because compared to any other muzzle in the game, it gives you a pretty decent boost to recoil control as well as gun kick control, while only having a slight mitigation to your ADS speed as well as concealing your muzzle flash. So I'd probably go ahead and slap that on. And I mean, even then, after I made those adjustments, as you can see, the weapon in itself still looks close enough to the actual blueprint. So I mean, you could actually feasibly switch some of the attachments around, build it out the way that you want to use it. And obviously, if you were going to use this thing in Warzone, you'd probably want to go ahead and use something like the STV Precision Barrel, which again keeps most of the cosmetics of the weapon intact. So you could theoretically do that. I am actually going to go ahead and switch out the FT TAC Elite stock for the main V6 stock. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now let's hop back into the firing range. And overall ADS speed, it's, you know, still decent for an AR. The sprint to fire really shines right there. Like, it's actually pretty fast. And then in terms of recoil control, as you can see, when it's built out the way that I would build it out, that's me literally, like, not even controlling the recoil. And as you can see, it's a lot better than it was before. And if I try to, like, actually control it, yeah, it's almost perfect. There's a few things we can do to make it even more precise. But when you're just playing, like, multiplayer, for example, yeah, this build right here will be more than enough to suffice. In terms of actually completing the event, it's really simple. You just need to get kills in various game modes, those being free-for-all, team deathmatch, domination, kill confirmed, hardpoint, and the new slam deathmatch LTM. And it's literally as simple as that. You just hop in and play the modes, you get kills, get assists, get wins. You don't need to even do any of those things in particular. Literally just playing those modes progresses it. I completed this in less than 2 hours. It was really easy to do. I think it only took me like maybe a little over an hour. Along the way, you'll unlock the holographic violence calling card, the inside the net emblem, the don't be afraid of the dark large decal, a tier skip with the battle pass, the deathmatch charm, and the all that follows weapon sticker, which actually does look pretty cool. I am gonna rock that. And once you complete all 6 of those, you unlock the locked and lucky blueprint for the SVA 545. Actually, while I'm thinking of it, that was a large decal that it said we unlocked, right? And it was the don't be afraid, or was it the don't be afraid of the dark one? Is that the one that we were looking at? No, I'm sorry, it was a weapon sticker. Okay, so let me go back ahead and put that on real quick just to see how it looks. In fact, why don't we definitely go ahead and do both if maybe that's possible, right? Okay, so the Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's the one that we just unlocked. And then for the sticker 1 slot, we'll go ahead and slap on the new sticker right there. It's kind of hard to see. The sticker actually does look pretty good with the way that this weapon is laid out. The Don't Be Afraid of the Dark one definitely doesn't match the color scheme of the weapon as well, but you can kind of look at the stickers and decals there, and yeah, you know, it looks pretty solid. And again, this is probably how I would want to build out the weapon, so in multiplayer, this should work pretty well if you want to follow this build. The only thing I could maybe potentially recommend instead is swapping out the Citadel grip, since the only thing you'll really be losing is a touch of recoil and ADS speed, and you'll be losing a decent bit of gun kick control right there. However, your flinch resistance would automatically get higher for removing this, and instead slapping on like a 45 mag if you're like me and you tend to rush around a lot and don't want to take a lot of time to reload. And if we go ahead and pull this out and use it, I mean, yeah, it's still pretty stable overall. So if anything, it might not be a bad idea to actually go with this build instead, because the ADS speed, the sprint to fire speed, and all that, I mean, that's still pretty decent right there for an AR. Anyway, as always at this point, with this week's set of weekly challenges in Modern Warfare 3, they've granted us a new aftermarket part, and this one is called the Jack Slash. And you actually can't see it at the moment, and that's because it is actually the foregrip for the weapon. Essentially how this thing works is that, yes, it's like a normal grip, you know, it'll give you some boost to your vertical recoil control and your sprint speed and your movement speed and all that. It also does slightly hurt your hip fire speed and attack stance spread, but oh well. But yes, when you try to melee somebody with it, they will instead be slashed with the knife on the grip. Obviously, that's a bit hard to actually show off in the firing range, so we'll go ahead and try to hop into a match just to show that off. I've had some of the most weird kill streaks equipped for a while now because I've been trying to complete those calling card prestige challenges, which I was talking about that. I forget if it was in the last video or the one before that, but I'm pretty sure I've completed those at this point, so I'm just gonna go ahead and slap on some of the ones I'd usually rock. Got the UAV, the counter UAV, and the Overwatch Helo. I'm half tempted to rock Wilson because yeah, for a while I didn't even know that I had this, but apparently I have a skin for Wilson called the Wheatson. I'm actually really glad they started to add skins for like field upgrades and lethals and tacticals and stuff, because it's actually kind of cool seeing that stuff. Alright, we got hardpoint on Das House. Hopefully I'll actually be able to show off this Jack Slash one here. I just hope that nobody's camping in the middle. Nothing is more annoying than running through your spawn and getting sniped by somebody on the other side that's trying to get long shots. So basically what happens is, when I melee with a normal weapon, as you can see, I'm just trying to swing them with like the butt of the gun. However, when you're holding a weapon with the Jack Slash equipped, you're automatically just gonna pull out a knife. So rather than like actually holding the weapon and then just kind of hitting him with it, you're gonna like pull it off, except there's not gonna be an animation for pulling it off. It's just kind of one of those things where it's implied that your character pulled the knife off of the weapon, and then you run up and slash with it just like you would have back in the day with like Black Ops or Black Ops 2, when the default melee weapon was still a knife. So there's been other ways to do this throughout the year. Like, for example, if you equip a throwing knife to your class, your melee weapon is actually going to automatically be a throwing knife as long as you still have a throwing knife available to use, rather than like, you know, a grenade or something else, like a different lethal. But now your other option would be to use this Jack Slash kit, and then yeah, it'll just be like the good old days where you run up and shank them, or you can just, you know, shoot them like normal like you would with any other weapon in the game. Now let's go ahead and try out this SVA. Whoa, my accuracy's all over the place. He was like moving all around and stuff, but yeah, this is the version of the build that I showed later on, where it has 45 bullets in the mag rather than the 30 from before. So yeah, this is probably how I would want to rock the weapon, just because I tend to kind of rush around the map. I like shrieking out. Sometimes those just having a few extra bullets can genuinely be the difference between shrieking out and not shrieking out, depending on how many enemies are around, what situations you're in. Obviously, on a small map like this, you're not really trying to shriek out. You're just trying to, I mean, you are kind of trying to shriek out, but you're just more or less trying to get as many kills as possible. Rack up the XP, complete your challenges, complete your camos and all that, and yeah, this build should be pretty good for that. And overall, like, once you're in the game, it does genuinely look pretty good. You know, when you're in the right lighting and on the right maps and stuff, I gotta say, it does look better than it did in the firing range, even with the adjustments that I made to the weapon. And now that I'm looking at it, in a weird way, the stickers and the decals, especially that large decal, which originally I was thinking, it doesn't go well with this color scheme. For some reason, it actually does look pretty good on this weapon, even though none of the colors actually match. Then again, I'm one of those people where I like throwing like punk rock stickers all over, so I mean, it depends what we're talking about, right? Like, I'm not the type of guy that actually puts stickers on things usually, but like if I have like a binder, for example, where I really want to mark it as my property or make it known that it's mine, then yeah, I'll cover it in all sorts of like mismatching stickers for like Green Day and My Chemical Romance and Slipknot, and like then like old like Eminem stickers and stuff like that. Just a whole mismatching of logos and colors, and yet aesthetically that just that mismatch appeals to me. I'm glad they finally started giving us blueprints for the SVA 545, because for the longest time, for like almost the first half of this game's life cycle, I want to say, we did not have a single blueprint for this guy. I mean, we did. Like, there were some in the shop bundles, obviously, and I had 2 of them because if you got the Vault Edition of Modern Warfare 3, it also came with 2 blueprints for multiple weapons in the game, like the Revenant and the SVA 545, those being the Carbon Fate and the Crimson Fate blueprints. However, outside of that and outside of some of the shop bundles, when it came to, like, events or even blueprints in the Battle Pass, it was like, yeah, we literally had nothing for the SVA 545, which I always found to be interesting because this was, like, sort of the default weapon for this game, right? Like, I feel like for every Call of Duty game, you always have that one weapon that's just sort of the default, right? Like, I think to Modern Warfare 2, for example, you'd probably say, like, the M4 is one of the default weapons there, or you look at, like, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, where, like, the MTAR was probably, like, the default AR there, and then here in Modern Warfare 3, you had the SVA 545 sort of as being that default, or in, like, Modern Warfare 2019, probably, like, the Kilo 141, I would say, was, like, one of the default weapons there. Apologies, as always, for the terrible gameplay right now. It's one of those things, man, I can't help it. For some reason, specifically when I'm playing Call of Duty, when I try to commentate, my brain just stops playing the game. Like, I'm still running around and kind of actively shooting, but I don't use any strategy as I'm doing so. I just kind of run around like a chicken with my head cut off until I actually try to focus, which I'm trying to do right now, yet I'm still getting blown up, so maybe it doesn't matter either way. Some days we nuke out and shriek out, but when I'm just trying to have a chill, casual convo, I don't feel like having sweat dripping down my face as I'm trying to do so. It seems like they got a pretty solid lineup for events coming up in Call of Duty, so they've been having them like week after week. We had the first week where Season 5 came out, there wasn't really much happening in the way of events, but then we had the one last week where we were able to unlock the new skin, and then this week we have this one, the Conquest event, where we're going to unlock this blueprint, and then next week there's going to be another event happening after that, and then I forget if it's the week after that where there's going to be another one, or I think they're going to be taking a break until after the beta is over. I believe there's still 2 more events happening though. Regardless, we're essentially going to be locked and loaded on stuff to grind out for up until the beta for Black Ops 6, which obviously we'll be making a ton of content on that once that drops, and then that's around the time that like COD Next and all that stuff is going to be happening, and then like basically for the entire period that the Black Ops 6 beta is happening, there's not going to be any events or big things happening in Modern Warfare 3 for obvious reasons, but then at literally like a few days after the beta ends, there's going to be another event going live to carry us through up to Season 6 for Modern Warfare 3, and at that point it's going to be interesting because we're really going to only have like what, not even a month and a half until the next season drops, which means we're only going to have like 40 days left in the season, which means we won't have as long to grind out the battle pass and stuff like that. But if you guys know me, I can complete the battle pass in less than a week, so it is not a big deal. Right now, my battle pass isn't finished, only because I grinded the game out like crazy and completed all the events and stuff like that, so I've just been playing, like, other single-player games in my free time, because I've said it before, like, as much as I do play Call of Duty, I do also spend just the majority of my time playing single-player games nowadays, but, you know, I have a lot of free time on my hands. Regardless, I'm already at 77% through my battle pass, and that isn't that impressive at this point, since the season's already been out for 2 weeks, but it is also worth noting that I did 75% of that within, like, the first 3 or 4 days of the season being out. So yeah, I put my time in. That means I only have 23% to do, and there's still 41 days left in the season. So yeah, I'll finish that by the time the season reload comes out. No problem. I could easily probably complete that this weekend, honestly, if I get in the mood to just kind of grind it out. But anyways, yeah, that's the new event. They also ended up bringing back the arcade mode, which they did end up switching some things up, so we may actually end up making a video on that. But otherwise, yeah, that's kind of it at the moment until the next event goes live in a week. So outside of the arcade mode, which I might make a video on, otherwise probably hit you guys with another Call of Duty video once that next event goes live. But anyway, as always, my shout out to all the Patreons and channel members sticking on low ball team, and shout out to all the big ball team. My last game, Daddy, many of the shit that's on GT Run, mention the cheesy goal. Thank you guys so much. You guys are literal legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. An amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.